Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Michael Jason with Culinary Arts Catering. Today I have the pleasure of being in the home, a very nice home, of one of my favorite clients, Cesar Cortez. This is his beautiful outdoor kitchen, along with this beautiful pizza oven. So we thought we'd go ahead and do a little demonstration on how to hand toss a fresh pizza shell and load it into a wood-fired oven for doneness. Well, this dough was already made a couple of days ago. It's had a chance to rest and relax, and it's ready to go. So I'm going to get rid of that. I have here a wooden peel. If you have a wooden bench, that works as well. But first you want to put a fair amount of flour down, like that. A little more flour. Press it down. Okay, now while it's nice and relaxed, here's a little trick. Okay, we don't just start rolling it out. What we want to do is we want to take our fingers and go all the way around the perimeter with just a little bit of room for the crust. See this? A little bit of room for the crust. I'm leaving a little mound in the middle. Everything I push out the air, and leave a little bit of a mound in the middle. You do this with your fingers until it gets about double the size that it was. All right? A little more flour. Now, I'm ready to hold it up in the air. Now notice if there's more dough here, as it stretches, that dough is going to stretch. The part that's where the crust is, I use my thumbs. I use this kind of a motion to stretch the crust. As the crust is stretching, so is the entire shell. A little bit of gravity, a little bit with my thumbs, and just kind of move it around. You kind of keep advancing over your palm of your hands. I guess it helps to have big hands. But this is probably going to end up being about 20 inch or so pizza shell to about 1 pound. Notice I'm just gently stretching the crust. Now as it starts to get bigger, you don't want it to, the hanging helps stretch it, but it's getting thin right there in the middle. So now I want to kind of let it rest over my arm a little bit more so it doesn't stretch, but I can still move that crust. And then I have to kind of keep moving it over my wrist. Now I know lots of people out there make a big show out of throwing it up in the air. I've never been good about spinning it in circles, but I can probably do that too. Let's see what happens. Maybe one more time. Okay, something like that. That kind of pushes it outward as it spins. That's not a requirement. Okay, it's a nice show. What really matters is that you stretch it evenly. Hopefully with no holes. Alright, starting to get nice and big, almost about where I want it. I can feel the dough is still thick with the crust. I kind of want that. That gives you more crust. Okay? Once I start to get it almost there, I can feel it. If you need to, you set it down. Check it out. Okay, so now I can still feel I want it a little bit. It's a little thick here. Nice and thick here. So you could stretch with your hands, but I'm going to go ahead and stretch here one more couple times. All right. You could always do a little bit with your hands like this. Not against the rules. Okay, just a little bit with the hands, just to stretch those last spots. Okay. All right, we've got a busy crowd here today. So, now, that is pretty much about the size we're going to want it. That's going to be fine. Before I start putting toppings on it, very, very important step. Make sure you put flour, maybe a little pasta flour like semolina, or a little bit of cornmeal, which I have right here. Okay, so one more stretch, just a little bit. We want to test it. One of the little tests is kind of moving around. See how it's nice and moving around there? That's just what I want. So now I go with the sauce. So I have lots of ingredients here. It's always up to your choice. I'm going to guess at about a cup, maybe just a little more. Plenty for this large pizza. Anything not too much sauce. Usually 8 to 12 ounces depending on the size of the pie. Now, a big mistake is sometimes people put too much in the middle and not enough on the outer edge. When pizza bakes, the edges get higher and everything moves to the middle. So you almost want to imaginarily not put much of anything in the middle. You still do. We're going to move this. Usually got a slightly bigger ladle, but that's okay. This works. Spread it out. And you want to leave about a quarter to a half an inch at the crust without sauce. That's what gives it that whiter brown crust look. Spread this kind of evenly. That's great. A lot of that's going to sort of settle and come together as it bakes. Next, you got some some mozzarella cheese. That's about 8 ounces there by weight. Sometimes, again, people put too much cheese. Doesn't take much. If you don't like extra cheese, that's okay. That's probably going to be fine. Alright. So then we can put the toppings we want. So let's say we want some with pepperoni. We'll put some over here. Maybe we'll go half. Sort of lay them out as you will. Probably not so much, not so much in the middle, very middle. You don't really want to put one on top of the other too much. Maybe I'll have some with some sausage. You add on a quarter of it, right? I like the sauce. I would not use raw sausage. I would use raw because you cook it. Do not use uncooked sausage on the pizza. Do not cook enough. Okay, we want to make meat lovers over here. So we'll go with a little bit of bacon, a little bit of ham. Oh, there's a meat pizza there. Okay. But what about the vegetarian? So how about some mushrooms? Some roasted onions. Some nice three-color bell pepper. Nice tomatoes. Some over there, some over here. Don't want to make it too heavy. Don't put too many toppings on it. Spread them out. That's looking good. Okay. Go ahead and dry our onions. Now we have to get it into the oven. Here, I have my wood-fired oven. Got a nice little flame. It's a whole nother lesson to learn how to operate one of these, but in general, reheat it for an hour. Get it up to about 450 to 500 degrees. We're getting ready to take the pizza and put it in here. Give it a little test. Shake it back and forth. Make sure it moves. Once you get it started in the oven, it's kind of like you gotta go. And go right here in the middle of the oven. Tilt it up about 15 degrees. Give it a good push off. Once it grabs, you kind of shake it real quickly back and forth and let it go. I'll let that sit there for about a minute, maybe 2 minutes, somewhere in between, depending on the heat of the oven. I'll give it a turn, and then it should be about done. But we'll be checking on it very shortly. So that's a hand toss on top of pizza. Okay, the pizza's been in for about 2 minutes, and it's time to check it. We'll probably turn it around for even brownness. So let's go ahead and take a look at it in the oven. Okay, there it is. We can see that the back of it's getting color, and the front is a little bit light. We're going to take the metal plate over the side, kind of get underneath it, make sure we got a nice, loose, there it is, it's moving now. So I can kind of bring it a little bit forward just to take a little look. See how I got color in the back? That's great. I'm going to do a little bit of a spin, sort of a little bit of an arc where you kind of turn it like this. All right, and now that part's going to be closer to the fire. Just going to let it go for about another minute or so, and then it should be done. All right, we'll check on it there. Okay folks, it's time to pull the pizza out of the oven. Taking a look at this, you want to look for a nice even brown on all sides. It's got a light spot, which it really doesn't. We've put that close to the fire, but this is looking good. So we'll take this out. Ah, look at that. It's kind of bubbling, nice and brown. Put that on the wooden peel. Be aware this is extremely hot to touch, to eat. It needs to cool. However, just a couple of tricks before we were to cut it and serve it is that if you ever wanted to have, say, Parmesan cheese, much better to add it now as opposed to before it goes in the oven because it has a tendency to dehydrate. So Parmesan cheese is better after it comes out. Also, if you like fresh greenery, herbs, spinach, arugula, those are always good to put on at the end as well. Like at this point right now. That makes beautiful, fresh, wood-fired, hand-tossed pizza. From Culinary Arts, thank you for joining us on how to toss and bake fresh pizza.